How's it going, everybody? Thank you for checking my channel and welcome to today's video. Today's going to be a really fun video because I haven't actually done this concept in quite a while, but the last time I did it, it was so much fun and I've been wanting a reason to be able to do this, and the comment shout out is actually the inspiration for this video, and this comes from LucyGoosey11, who wanted me to do a comparison side by side of Death and BotD when it comes to Berserker axes, as well as to be able to give more information on the types of builds that would actually be able to benefit from these rune words. So we're going to be comparing them side by side, and we're going to see which one of them is going to be ideally better to use, and it's again all subjective. Some people are going to say that Death is better, some people are going to say that BotD is better. It's just like the last time I did this when it came to comparing Grief and Last Wish, where if you go and look at the comment section, there is still quite the split between the people that love Grief and Last Wish. And yes, for those of you that mentioned it, yeah, I know, I screwed up. I just have to own that. I made sure this time, don't worry, I have a script. I made sure to not just double check, but I have triple and quadruple checked everything. Now for the criteria that we're actually gonna use to compare them side by side, there are gonna be four major things that we're gonna be looking for. And the first one's gonna be the rune cost, followed by the builds that would actually use the rune words. The third thing is gonna be the stats when comparing them both for the things that they have in common, and also the stats that make them stand out from one another, with last but not least, the allowing of flexibility with the rest of the build when it comes to using these rune words. With all that said, let's jump right into the video.
Not even death can save you from me.
Greetings, mortals. I knew you would find your way back here.
Now the first thing we're going to be doing is going to go over the rune cost for each one of the rune words. And for Death, that's going to be Hell, El, Vex, or Gul. And for BotD, it's going to be Vex, Hell, El, Eld, Zod, F. I can't believe I actually got that right on the first try. So this is pretty much a no-brainer. I'd have to say that Death obviously wins by a landslide because of the fact that BotD is going to require the rarest rune in the game, which for most people, they're not going to be able to find it. And if so, even if they were to roll this rune word, most of the time they're going to be using this just simply either for niche builds, or it's just going to be a trophy rune word to be able to have in their Holy Grail. So this one definitely goes to Death. Now for the second thing we're going to go over, and that's going to be the builds that would actually be able to use these rune words. Now they're going to be the exact same builds shared between the two rune words, which is going to be, for example, the Zealots and the Frenzy Barbarians, because of the fact that they'll be able to utilize their faster attacks when it comes to Zeal for the Paladin and Frenzy for the Barbarian to be able to help with the slower attack speed, especially when it comes to these rune words being compared in Berserker axes. I wish we can actually compare just the rune words side by side, because then I would be able to actually give BotD another person that would be able to use this, which would be a Fury Druid. However, being that they're in Berserker axes, I feel that the playing field is equal for both of them, so both of them actually get a point when it comes to the builds that will be able to use them. Now for number 3, we're going to be going over the stats, comparing them side by side, again, where the things that they have in common and the things that make them stand out, but I'm only going to be referencing the ones that are the most important. For the rune word Death, we have good crowd control when it comes to proccing Glacial Spike, 300 to 385% enhanced damage, 20% bonus to attack rating, 50% chance of crushing blow, and deadly strike percent based on character level. For Breath of the Dying rune word, there's the chance to cast Poison Nova for style points that could help with larger groups of enemies, 60% increased attack speed, and for Berserker axes, that is amazing. 350 to 400% enhanced damage, 200% damage to undead, dual mana and life leech, with life being between 12 to 15%, and plus 30 to all attributes. When comparing the stats side by side, there are a few things that they have in common. Both of them have the indestructible mods, which is why you want to roll these rune words in ethereal basis to utilize the lower requirements and the higher damage output. Check my previously made video for more information on that. Enhanced damage rolls, chance to cast procs for some crowd control, mana leech, which is great for these builds utilizing these rune words, and both have lower requirement mods, which is helpful when trying to min and max a build. Now let's go ahead and check out some of the differences. When it comes to the enhanced damage, BotD has a much better range, being from 350% to 400%, while Death has a much larger range of 300 to 385%. Yes, the potential for a lower rolled BotD compared to Death is possible, but less probable. And even with both of the rolls that I'm showing on screen that I actually have, both being 1% off perfect for their enhanced damage, the ranges on their damages, both min and max, BotD barely scrapes by in comparison. However, BotD also has an additional boost to damage to the undead, so that gives an advantage for areas to farm with undead enemies. Another difference is, while they both actually have mana leech, BotD is the only one that has a source of life leech. So while this rune word does play to the idea of adding damage when it comes to enhanced damage, percent damage to the undead, and also the boost to attack rating, this rune word is really helpful when it comes to your survivability. And with the builds, I'd actually be able to use this rune word, such as with a Zealot and a Frenzy Barb that would be swinging fast. The more chances you have to swing, the more chances you have to hit, which means the better chances to be able to leech more life back to increase your survivability. Something I actually like about Death compared to BotD when it comes to the attack rating bonuses is the fact that with Death, it's going to be a percentage bonus to attack rating, which is going to be a lot more helpful than just a flat number. And unfortunately, when it comes to BotD, the numbers that are going to be helpful with attack rating are so low. To be able to have an increase of 1% to the attack rating on Death is going to be a lot more beneficial to be able to help make more connected hits, to be able to help deal more damage, and also to be able to just clear areas a lot faster. The last major point I'm going to make for this section is the fact that BotD has one of the most important stats that endgame weapons need, whether it being on the base itself or from the rune word, and that's the fact that it has increased attack speed, something that Death does not have. Increased attack speed is so important for melee characters, and that's because with faster attack speed, you're able to do more hits per second, which potentially has more chances for you to make a connected hit. That way you're able to, if your weapon has a high amount of damage, be able to deal a lot more damage to be able to clear the area faster. And for those of you that are able to have some form of life and or mana leech, to be able to get more of that supplemented back into your build, so that way you can just be a tank through all the areas, whether you are magic finding or if you're doing something like endgame content when it comes to doing Ubers. Something also that is important to know is if you get hit with something like Decrepify or Holy Freeze, to be able to have increased attack speed, and especially a high amount on your weapon, is going to make it to where you're not going to be greatly as affected, and you'll still be able to actually clear areas much faster than you would if you were to not have increased attack speed on your weapon or any of your other gear at all. I'm going to be using both of my 4400 griefs to be able to give you a proper demonstration as to why it is important to take into consideration the type of base that you choose for certain rune words. For this case, even though I am using a phase blade, I'm going to be using it as to compare to the Berserker axe, which both my Death and my BotD are in. Looking at the swing for both the grief and the phase blade, and in the Berserker axe, you can see the difference in their speed, and that's because a phase blade base has a faster attack speed by comparison to a Berserker axe, which is slower. And that's why BotD gets a huge boost for its attack speed when it comes to this base weapon, especially being at 60%. As you can see here, the difference is noticeable, and the BotD would allow for more swings, something that unfortunately is lacking a lot with Death. Now when it comes to which one of these actually won this category, it's still a little bit blurry to me because it just depends on who you ask. You could easily go to either Death or BotD, and I did leave out some important information that I'm going to be covering in the next point because I felt that it's going to be better covered over there. But I think just with what I talked about alone, it's going to have to go to BotD because it does have aspects both with being able to deal more damage, but also the idea of being able to help with your survivability. So I think just for what I brought up at this point, I feel that category went to BotD. So for my fourth and final point, we're going to discuss how each one of these rune words allows for more flexibility within the rest of your build. Now, as I mentioned before, I did leave out some beneficial stats that would be really good for comparing them side by side with one another, but I felt they'd be better discussed here. And that's going to be for Death, the ability to have Crushing Blow and Deadly Strike. The reason this is so important is because, just like when it came to talking about this for my Grief versus Last Wish video, the ability to have Crushing Blow allows for a percentage of damage to be able to be chunked out from the current health of whomever you're fighting. This is really helpful when it comes to the beginning of a fight to be able to start chunking off the health with the highest amount to be able to be taken off. And when it comes to Deadly Strike, which allows for double damage, it would be able to help supplement when the Crushing Blow starts to have its diminishing return. With double damage, you'll be able to start chunking off the health more because you would need a higher base amount of damage, not just a percent. Many melee builds are actually tailored toward these stats, especially Crushing Blow. Just like I previously made a video where I went over a Zealot that had 100% Crushing Blow and 100% Deadly Strike, and on Players 8 was just slaughtering everything in sight. Now comparing chance to cast Glacial Spike and Poison Nova, Glacial Spike is going to be a lot better for crowd control for anything that is not cold immune, because once it actually hits an enemy, it freezes them and allows you to either take on less at a time or 1v1 if possible, and allows you to be able to get away if you feel you're in danger. And Poison Nova works over a prolonged period of time and unfortunately is not going to be able to do enough damage by itself to be able to actually take out enemies that are around you. Granted, it does have a lot more chance to cast, comparatively speaking to Glacial Spike. And for Breath of the Dying, it does have stats that cater more towards helping your survivability. Minus 25% to target defense means you do more damage with each swing. So along with your IAS boost, this is going to help people to clear areas a lot faster if they are able to bring their attack rating up. And unfortunately, when it comes to BotD, that is something that they're going to really need to focus on because the stats that roll for attack rating are not efficient enough with how low they are. Another great stat that BotD has that Death doesn't is the ability to have plus 30 to all attributes. And for people that want to be able to shift around their attribute points, which you actually don't need a token of absolution to be able to do so on single player. If you check out my previously made video, I go over how to be able to have unlimited respecs, and they're all free. It only takes maybe about 5 clicks. With Breath of the Dying, be able to potentially help supplement some of its own points and attributes to be able to be equipped by your character, so that way you can shift those extra hard points into vitality to make you quite the tank. That is something that gives it an advantage over Death. Do keep in mind that, unfortunately, if you do not have the right amount of attribute points in the right places, if you end up dying, you could potentially not be able to pick up your weapon when you go to retrieve your corpse. However, with Death already having Crushing Blow and Deadly Strike on the rune word itself, I feel that alone gives it a lot more flexibility with the rest of your build, and that's why I feel in this category, I'm definitely going to have to give it to Death. Now for the final verdict, comparing these two side by side when it comes to being in Berserker axes. Death wins, and there's so many factors that go into why. The fact that it has a much lower rune cost, with the highest rune being a Vex, comparatively speaking to BotD that has Zod rune, which very few people are able to find. It also has a lot more of damage when it comes to Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, and it also has a % boost to attack rating, which unfortunately Breath of the Dying does not have. It also has the ability to have better crowd control with Glacial Spike. Now don't get me wrong, I love my BotD, and I feel that the rune word itself is amazing. However, it seems to be more just of a trophy item of accomplishment, being that the Zod rune is so hard to find, and so many of the stats when it comes to helping with survivability are not enough to be able to trump the Crushing Blow and the Deadly Strike that the Death has, making it a lot more beneficial and useful by the same builds that BotD would be used for. Sometimes all it just takes is 1 or 2 stats on a rune word to be able to make one rune word more OP or beneficial than another rune word, or even a set or unique item. Hell, even if you look at Enigma, if it only just had 1 to teleport with nothing else, people would still praise it all the same and feel that it is such a game changer comparatively speaking to what actually is on the rune word itself now. I love both of these rune words. However, I feel that BotD is more of just like a trophy of accomplishment because Zod rune is so hard to find. And if we were to open up the base options, you could more so say that BotD maybe has a little bit more of an advantage, especially in something like a Great Poleaxe for a Fury Druid. However, Death is a lot easier to get with a lower rune cost, and it has a lot more stats that would be able to benefit your damage output and allow for more flexibility within the build. So that's why I feel that Death wins over BotD in this case of Berserker axes. And that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was actually a lot of fun to make, and I hope I can make more videos like this. If there's a particular rune word that you want to have compared to another rune word, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I will do my best to be able to make that happen for you. Do keep in mind that it's harder to compare certain rune words when it comes to being in not the same type of bases or not used for the same type of builds. However, if they are pretty close as far as the bases they would be used in or for the type of builds that they'd be used in, I could easily make that video by comparison to something like, for example, comparing Grief to Faith. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like. Also, there's going to be in the corner a playlist of all of my Diablo 2 Resurrected content. I definitely suggest you guys go check it out. Hope you guys are all staying safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.